So we've got this first box here in position. Now we have to go into the 2-point perspective. So the way you know it's 2-point perspective is if you see the corner of the box. Like you might see a little bit of a corner for 1-point perspective, but if this is parallel, these lines are parallel, and it's a perfect rectangle or square, you're going to know that's a 1-point perspective. For this one, if you just see the corner, this edge, then you'll know it's going to have 2 vanishing points on it. So anything that's not facing you directly like this is going to have 2 vanishing points. So this 2-point perspective, it's going to use the same eye level, that same horizon line. So we're going to be using this still. So that's why we have it marked. So now I'm going to take this out and replace my drawing in here. Now, if you didn't have your drawing, it wasn't the same size, you could still use your sighting stick and kind of get the edges and the angles by kind of aligning it like this and then like moving it over to your drawing to figure out that vanishing point. Like you can kind of transfer the angles. So I could do something like this, but it's hard to get it just right. But sometimes you have to rely on things like that too if you don't have all of these supplies. And it just depends on where you're at and what you're doing, what you're drawing. Okay, so for this one, we are going to line up that horizon line. So make sure it stays in, it's nice and aligned. And now what I'm going to do is I have to measure this line because I need to put this line. I'm not drawing a rectangle for this. I'm drawing just a line to start with because it's 2-point perspective. And this line is exactly, oh, well, it's not exactly, it's almost 1.5 inches. So I need to draw 1.5 inches line about, but where do I put it? So I need to measure from the center line. Let's just see where it falls. Oh, perfect. It falls right about when I line up this mark with the center line, it falls just before the 3.5 mark. So I'm going to do this really quickly and line that up just before the 3.5, whoops, the 3.5 mark. Was that right? Let me double check my measurements. Yeah. So I'm going to come over here. Maybe mark it there. So this is where that line is. Now I have to go from the middle line down, and it's got about 1.25 inches from the middle. So I'm just trying to figure out where that line is on my page. Okay, so this is the space above. I'm just marking it. So I'm not, this isn't actually the line, but that's how low below the line, middle line I have to start. So it's there. Oh, so it's going to be, this is the width that way. So I'm going to actually, my line's going to go in line with this mark. And what did I say it was? 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go down 1.5 inches. Okay, so then I can just double check my measurements. That's about 2 inches. It's a little over 2. Yeah, that looks good. So I need to, this is the corner of my box, and all I've just done is measured to make sure I have it placed in the correct area on the page. So this line is about 2 3/4 from the middle, from the box. So I just go through and I double check my measurements. If they're a tiny bit off, it's fine. This doesn't have to be exact, but we do want the angles to be accurate. So for 1-point perspective, you measure where the rectangle or box goes. For 2-point, you have to find this line, the edge. So now our angles and our vanishing points are going to determine these angles. Okay, so I'm going to start with, I'm going to take this away and I'm going to go back to this. So we're going to do the same thing. We have to line up the horizon line. And now we're going to follow these angles, and these ones might be a lot wider, so you might end up going off the edge of your page even, but I'm going to follow this angle from the bottom of the box, and then I'm going to follow this edge as well, so this one. So make sure your paper doesn't shift, and where it intersects on the horizon line or that eye level is where your vanishing point goes. Oops, got a little wobbly, but pretty much it's going to be about there. And then I'm following the angle of this edge. You have to move it out a little. Sometimes I have to use a yardstick. Sometimes they're way over here, so it just depends. And then this one, I'm going to go from here, from the top. So I'm going from the top of the line into the bottom of the line. I'm going at the very top and at the very bottom, I'm making these lines go out. And wherever they intersect, so I'm following the edge. Leave a little room for your pencil. And that is your vanishing point here. So this one is actually on the page. This one is off the page. Okay, so once you have those established, so I have to kind of, it's going to be over here, then I can swap this out and put this on. So I'm just looking at my page. It's in a little bit here. Ended up not going off my page there. So I'm going to line this paper up, make sure those horizon line and eye level are good. And now I'm going to go from the top of this line and the bottom of the line to the vanishing point that I just created on the picture. So top of the line, bottom of the line, and that's going to give me that angle. So top of the line to the vanishing point here. These are not parallel lines. These go to the vanishing point and create this nice angle. So I have the corner here, but now I have to find this back edge of the box too. So this is where people get tripped up. So first, in order to find the back edge, I need to find where the back edge of this box is in order to find this. So these lines right here have to be parallel, and then I'll be able to find that back edge. So I'm just going to measure from this line 2.5. So at 2.5, I'm going to make a parallel line, which is like way over here. So it's got to be parallel to this. So that's where my box ends. And then over here from the middle line, it's about 1 3/4 inches. So I go here, 1 3/4 inches, and just make sure that you double check that. Okay. So now I'm going to draw my parallel line here. So parallel lines, those are parallel. Now, this is a little different, that back edge that we need to find. You have to go from this corner. You're not going up here, but you're going to go from this corner. Because if you went from this corner up to here, it's not going to give you a new line. So what I need to do is go from this corner now to that vanishing point back at the other side. So when you draw your back side edges, then you're going to go from the top of the side edge to the opposite vanishing point. And that's going to give you the back of the box. It's pretty cool. And then back at here, this one here, this other edge on the left is going to go across and back to that vanishing point. So now this is that back edge. See it there? And then this edge is kind of hidden, but it's right here. So from here, I can start laying out my other elements and measuring, like to see where things go and things like that.